Chris Finn, and today have an exciting topic for you. And When it comes to strength training and the myths around doing that for golf. If you didn't hear last couple episodes, we've started live streaming these, so that's a fun part for us. On We're typically doing these on Tuesday, so we'll make sure we got more info on that for you guys on whatever platform you're on, whether it's YouTube, Instagram. There's just a number of them that we're doing it on. We actually are adding one every week, so fun way for you guys to interact with me, ask questions that you have on these topics. So definitely check out our social so you can find those. But let's dive into this. uh, the training myths that I find, there's a kind of big three of them when it comes to strength training for golfers that tend to really hold people back. The first one really is that lifting heavy stuff's gonna make you stiff and hurt your golf swing. Couldn't be more false. So let's diffuse that bomb right now. I just, it's interesting and I understand where this comes from. I think there's historically a thought process around seeing kind of big bodybuilders, and they're really big and muscular, and like they don't have tons of flexibility. Or you talk to your buddy who played football and can bench a lot, and he sucks at mobility, right? And there's this, uh, I guess, stereotype that's put towards people who lift a lot of weight that they're not going to have a lot of mobility. Um, the fact of the matter is, your buddy who benches, 315 and sucks at the shoulder mobility, just he sucks because he doesn't do shoulder mobility. So um, it's not because he's benching a lot of weight. And so I think when you actually look at this of the data, so this is what we see is when it comes to, if we talk about the big four lifts: bench, squat, dead, a deadlift, and a pull motion. Those are kind of the big four moves. And what we see is there is a direct relationship between how much people can move in those, how much force people can produce in those movement patterns. So hip hinges would be the equivalent, is a deadlift. A squat pattern would be like, squatting with a bar on your back, or a goblet squat, whatever variation you're doing. Upper body push power would be like a bench press, dumbbell bench press, whatever whatever variation you're doing. And then a pull. The big one that we're seeing is very impactful, is like a lat pull. So a single arm lat pull down is what we test. We look at how much load you can move and how fast you can move it. It actually gives us a power output. Um, so those are the big four that really matter when it comes to strengthening. And so I think it's just, it's in a way kind of funny, just because of the people that tend to have these concerns. So most of you who have this concern, either A, have never lifted weights, B, have never lifted weights in any serious way, shape, or form, or C, have lifted weights and done it the complete wrong way and gotten and become tight and then blamed it on lifting weights and getting stronger. Um, there is, you got to look, you have to look no further than the gymnast, look at the Olympics, look at gymnasts. They're strong as all hell, and they're the most flexible people in the building. But I think when you look at the, like the actual stats around it, uh, you know, you will get gains relative to club head speed in terms of your club head speed going up as you get stronger. Uh, for a deadlift, until you get to 1.75 times your body weight. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you should be able to deadlift 175 pounds for one rep. 1.5 times body weight for squat, right? So you should be able to squat, if you weigh 100 pounds, 150 pounds, right? You guys can do the math. If you're 200 pounds, you should be able to squat 300 pounds. Or not should be able to, but you could go up to 300 pounds and it would still help your golf game. So it's all relative to body weight. Your bench press is 1.25 times to 1.3 body weight for it to be helpful for your club head speed. Once you guys hit those body weight percentages, like there's no benefit to going any higher. You really just can maintain those, and then you're going to start to shift to, you're going to get a bigger ROI out of other areas. Whether it's spectrum, speed training, whatever it may be. But the idea that getting to those numbers would make you stiff, either A, you're doing it wrong, or B, you're not doing your mobility work. And I think that's a big thing we always talk about when we think of our performance pyramid for golf, is at the bottom layer is mobility, particularly in the core four rotary centers: your hips, your shoulders, your spine, your neck. If you have those abilities to to move in those areas and you've maintained those, then what can happen is you actually like you just the strength actually helps you to maintain that mobility. The number one reason why guys will lose mobility is because they actually are becoming weak and your body's trying to limit the mobility because they don't have the strength to control it. So less mobility means you need less strength to control it. So it couldn't be more false that lifting heavy weights is going to make you stiff and hurt your golf swing. If you do it the right way, it actually will make you more durable, less likely to get hurt, and it will actually help you maintain your mobility because that should be a part of your program as well. Now, if you only go to the gym and all you do is bench, squat, and deadlift, and you don't do anything else, um, probably not helping your golf game. You have to have some other stuff in there, but those core foundational elements are definitely critical for longevity in the game of golf. All right, myth one busted. Let's go to number two. And that's that strength training for golf should only be lightweight and high reps. So this is, I think, comes out of the fear from myth one that if I get too strong, I'm going to get stiff and it's going to hurt my golf swing. So I know I'm supposed to go to the gym because that's good for me, golf fitness, and all the pros do it. So I'm just going to lift like light weights. I'm going to do like 10 to 20 reps a set, and that way I don't get hurt. So this is a complete and utter disaster of a waste of time because there's a couple things, but we're going to try to dive into this without losing anybody. Golf is a power sport. What that means is the downswing, everyone knows, is less than a second, and then you walk to your ball and you hit your next shot, and there's generally about 5 minutes between those shots. If you're playing by yourself, maybe it's 3 minutes. If you don't hit it very far, maybe it's 90 seconds. I don't know, but the energy systems required to do that are the glycolytic and then the anaerobic power, like the short acting power systems, not the aerobic endurance side of things, which start to be triggered when you start going 10, 12, 15, 20 reps, when you go for long runs, 3 mile, 4 mile, 5 mile marathons. Like those are very different energy systems than what golf requires for you to be successful. Um, we had this discussion. Actually, we just had an accelerator event here where we had 15 guys flying from all over the country, and one of the questions was like, should I be doing cardio? And it was like, and so the discussion was around. I mean, cardio is not bad for you, right? Health wise, there's a cardiovascular benefit to getting your heart rate up and doing incline walking and those sorts of things. Keeping your heart rate within a threshold where you're not basically training aerobic capacity or anaerobic capacity. You could certainly do those different types of training. But once you start doing long distance training, you're actually training a different, you have a certain percentage of your muscle fibers that are trainable. Your nervous system obviously is trainable. And the message there is let's go long and slow for a long period of time. Let's go slow, as opposed to what golf is, which is, hey, I'm going to swing this in a second and let's go as fast as we can or as hard as we can to make the ball go as far as possible. So two very different outcome goals. So the training, generally isn't going to be intermingled in an ideal way, an ideal situation. Now, so when you're doing lightweight training, you're obviously going to have to do a lot of reps in order to feel anything. So it's kind of the equivalent of going for long runs. It's obviously not exactly the same, but it's the general idea. That's the type of training generally you'll do when you're doing long distance training. You'll sprinkle in other cycles and all that for all you fitness nuts out there that are, no, that's not how you do it. I know that there's more specificity to it. I'm trying to keep this high level for everyone listening. The so it kind of goes into the back to kind of myth one of we want you to lift heavy relative to where you are, right? So 100 pounds may be heavy for person A, for John, but for Bob, 100 pounds may be a warm-up set and he may be lifting with 300 pounds. It's all relative, and that's what matters is the relativity of it. But if you don't lift heavy, then you're gonna have to you're doing lightweight, you're doing high reps. If you're lifting heavy, because the weight is heavier, you're only going to be doing 5, maybe 8 reps. And I think that's the cool thing. A, you don't have to do as many reps. B, you're not going to be as sore because you're not doing as many reps, right? High reps, high volume is actually what makes you sore. So if you lift heavy and do fewer reps, that's what we have all of our players do in season to maintain as high of a force output as possible without having them, get sore. So that's myth 2. Stomped, crushed. Hopefully that helps you clear that one up for you guys. Final one, third myth, that strength training isn't necessary for golf. Now, this is just complete bull beep. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this. I don't know if we, Caleb, do we have an explicit rating? I don't know if we do. It's BS. So it really, I mean, that's just funny at this point in time. I think that was probably very well accepted, like 2000 and before. Along came a guy named, I think his name was Tiger Woods, if anyone's ever heard of him. Before him, you had Gary Player. And it's just only become more and more accepted. And, you know, if anybody's seen any of the full swing seasons, there's at least one scene of every player pretty much in the gym doing something fitness oriented. You know, it's just, I mean, it's just stupid at this point, effectively, to say that strength training isn't necessary for golf. If you're trying to play this game for a long time, if you don't strength train, what will happen is your technical ability will outpace your physical ability, which will lead you to you swinging faster than what your body can handle, and you eventually get hurt. If that doesn't happen, what eventually will happen is you will just lose club head speed because you can't produce force and you lose mobility, and so you don't have as long of a runway to create the force. That's called impulse. So your club head speed drops, and we see this in the data, guys. Like if the person who is not doing anything physical, like not working on their body the right way for golf, you're going to lose 10 miles an hour every decade. If you start to do the right stuff, that loss drops to 2 miles an hour a decade. Now, the average person that we work with who isn't doing anything today and starts doing something tomorrow will gain in the next year 5 to 7 miles an hour. So let's say you gain 7 miles an hour, right? If you gain 7 miles an hour in year one, then that means you've just you won't lose 10 miles an hour instead of one decade. You won't lose it for the next 3 decades, so next 30 years. So, like, literally doing 1 year working on your body will negate 30 years of loss. Um, that's like, let me say that again. Doing the right stuff for 1 year will negate 30 years, 3 decades worth of loss of if you did nothing. That is the cost of doing nothing. Is 30 miles an hour, which is like 100 yards. And that's why most people stop playing the game of golf when they get into their later 60s and 70s. You want to be the guy that's carrying his bag in his 90s and enjoying the game and having fun. And that's ultimately why we do it here. And that's, hopefully these three myths being busted helps you, get on the right path and start doing the right type of strength training to help you play better golf for a really, really long time. So thanks as always for hanging out with me here on the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad. And we'll look forward to catching you on the next episode.